Casemiro has played a key role, hasn't he, as they've charged up the table under Michael Carrick. The midfielder is set to depart at the end of the season, though, and he's loved the connection he's built with the fans during his time in Manchester.
Sabia que ia ser especial para mim, mas está sendo muito mais, assim, está sendo bem especial. E claro que quando acaba o jogo e a torcida começa a cantar assim, para você ficar assim, né? Acho que era o que eu queria, assim, sabe? Em termos de sair pela porta grande, sair com essa sensação, sair com a torcida sentindo saudade de você. Então, sem dúvida, está sendo dias inesquecíveis, assim, dias que eu imaginei nos meus sonhos, assim. Eu estou vivendo um sonho bem legal, assim, e quero seguir desfrutando. E, claro, com o primeiro objetivo, que é deixar o clube na Champions League pro ano que vem.
OK, right. Let's talk about Casemiro, because, I mean, he has been incredibly impressive, hasn't he? And at a time when, actually, previous seasons, people were talking about the end of Casemiro, and right now, that couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, well, I think it goes for a lot of the Man United players under Michael. I think since he's taken over, he's given them freedom and a bit of belief, and basically playing players in positions that they should be playing in. But yeah, listen, Casemiro I don't think has been as good as he was at Real Madrid, but since Michael's taken over, he's looked like the Casemiro of old. And not only is he scoring goals, he's a threat from obviously we're seeing here in these set pieces, but he's been controlling games, and like you said, I think when you're playing with a bit of confidence and players around you are playing with confidence and always available, I think players like Casemiro will find you, and like I said, he looks like he's playing with a smile on his face, and it'll be nice for him to get a good send-off, because he's a hell of a player, albeit, like I said, I think there was a couple of seasons where he didn't really perform to the level that he's capable of, but we're seeing now what a top player he is.
Yeah, we certainly are. And I mean, in terms of him playing with a smile on his face, that helps because they're winning. And that victory against Villa was brilliant at the weekend. And then a lot of the fans were chanting one more year to him. How important is it, though? Because it looks like he will go and he won't do anything and renew a contract at all. He said he's going, they've said he's going. It's a mutual agreement. How important is it that they get the right replacement for him, though?
Yeah, it's so important, but it's so difficult to replace a player with his experience, with his quality, because it's not just what he will be doing on the pitch. Off of the pitch, I'm sure the role he plays within the dressing room and around the training ground will be so important. The career that he's had, the clubs he's played for, you can't go and just replace that. It takes years to get that, or a lot of money. But you can see he scores big goals in big moments. He brings a real calmness to the team, and I think I briefly heard you speaking about Fernandes earlier. Fernandes is allowed to go and perform in the way that he's doing at the moment because of the inclusion of Casemiro in that midfield. He gives real structures to that midfield, and he sort of holds fort, if you like, and the rest of the boys can go out in the final third and show their stuff. And obviously he's come up with some big goals in the final third as well.
Someone that you're obviously familiar with that I would like to see would be an Elliot Anderson at Man United.
Yeah, he's obviously Elliot from 16, 17, he came up with the first team with us at Newcastle, and consistently every day was the best player in training. And obviously, did I know he was going to go on to be the player he is today? No, but I knew that he had a lot of tools. The thing about Elliot, he can play all over the pitch, any position on the pitch. I think, do I think he'd be great at Man United? Of course I do, yes. But a player of his quality, I believe, would be great at any club. He's got real high quality. He can do everything with the ball. He's tenacious. He's aggressive. He's got a burning desire to win, which I think is key to play for a club like Man United.
If he has a big tournament in the summer,
if he lights up the World Cup,
I think he could have a few options.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just briefly, in terms of both of you, when you talk about those sort of players, who was that for you, with you at Newcastle? Who was that sort of player that you said that did more sort of also off the pitch?
Yeah, Newcastle was, we were sort of a very similar age group. We all grew together.
Yeah.
From the Championship through the Premier League. But when the players that really stick in my mind, I was a young player at Portsmouth, and I didn't play much with the first team, but had Richard Hughes, who's now obviously at Liverpool, and Gary O'Neill, and Matty Taylor. They were like the British core at Portsmouth.
Right.
And I learnt so much from just being in and around those guys, how they carried themselves, how they train, how they treated other people around the environment. And those things are so important, especially at a massive club like Man United, where you do have young players coming through that can believe that they're superstars before they are.
How about you, Jodie? Who is it for you? Sorry.
Probably, you're talking about your Dennis Wises, Luca Viallis, Marcel Desailly's, like those type of players that not only had performed at a high level and had already had success, they continually wanted to improve and to get more out of themselves as well as their teammates. People like Vialli, who trained every day like it was his last session, or like he was on trial, but yet he was obviously a superstar. And even when he was manager and he used to join in, he was like do you know what I mean? He treated every day as if like it was another opportunity to improve. So being around that was a privilege.
Yeah, I can imagine. OK, yes, right, let's turn our attention to Manchester United now. Bruno Fernandes has been in red-hot form, hasn't he, for the club over the last few weeks. Could he be in with a shout of being named the Premier League's Player of the Year? Well, head coach Michael Carrick certainly seems to think so.
I think he's had a fantastic season, I have to say. It's not so much who I would vote for, but we're delighted that he's playing the way he is and having the impact that he is for us, and he's proven to be right up there in them conversations. I'd love to see him obviously take the award, you know, and it says a lot about what's going on at this club and how the team's playing as well as how well Bruno's playing. So we'll have to see how that pans out, but really pleased with everything that he's doing at the moment.
16 assists and counting for Bruno Fernandes. Should he be the Premier League Player of the Year? What do you think? His assists have won the most points for a side in a Premier League season. His 16 so far have led to 18 points being won as Michael Carrick's side have surged up the table. Fernandes there just ahead of Darren Anderton, whose assists won 17 points for Spurs in 1994-95. Fernandes has now overtaken David Beckham in providing the most assists for Manchester United in a single season. That record has stood for 25 years. So let's compare the two. Now, if he stays fit, Fernandes will overtake Beckham for appearances next season. It's Fernandes who has scored more goals, but it is a higher proportion, actually, of goals on his right foot. I always think of David Beckham's being very right-footed, but actually Fernandes has the higher share of goals scored with his right foot. It's the former England captain who leads on direct free-kick goals. And Fernandes now, at the moment anyway, on assists-wise, Beckham is there on 80 and Fernandes is there on 67, just 13 behind. It's very similar minutes per goal involvement as well. So the question is, who is the better player? Who was the better player? Who would you rather have, Fernandes or Beckham?
Yeah, and that's the question that I'm going to put to Jodie right now. Who would you rather have in your team then?
I thought Bex was the top player, but I'm picking Bruno Fernandes.
Really?
I think he's an outrageous footballer. I think since the moment he's come in at Man United, I think it was under Ollie, wasn't it? Is it in January? He's just never had a bad spell for me.
Yeah.
Apart from obviously under Ruben Amorim, where he was playing deeper, even though he wasn't playing as well as he is now, he was still Man United's best player.
Yes.
But when you're seeing that Michael's put him back into the position that he's revels in, he's certainly one of the best number 10s in world football. And he's an outrageous footballer. I just think he's one of those. I think he got a little bit of stick at one little period where people thought that he was chucking his arms about and maybe sort of body language wasn't great. But I just like the fact that he's demanding of his teammates. He's demanding of himself. And yeah, he's certainly in with a shout for Player of the Year.
Do you think? I was going to say, I mean, he's got some stiff competition, but you think...
Yeah, I do. I think if Man United continue winning between now and the end of the season, I think he'll be pivotal. I mean, that pass to Cunha is just absolutely outrageous. He sees some passes that us watching the game at home on telly don't see. And yeah, as I said, I just think there's an element where you can maybe say that he would give the ball away a little bit too much, where he's looking for the final killer pass. But when you've got someone that, when he's not even playing well in a game, he pops up with a goal or pops up with an outrageous pass and an assist. And they're invaluable to your team. Like, as I said, I think he's a world-class player and he's brilliant to watch.
Yeah, he is good to watch. He's on 16 assists, as you mentioned. Do you think he could go on to break that Premier League record? Is Kevin De Bruyne's and Thierry Henry's at 20, isn't it, at the moment?
I mean, he certainly could, because, what is it, 7 or 8 games left now?
Yeah.
He's certainly, the rate in which he's producing at the moment, you'd like to think so. And another thing that I think goes under the radar with Bruno is the fact that he's always available, hardly ever injured, always available for his team. He's certainly got a chance of breaking that record, and I wasn't sure that would ever be broken with Thierry and Kevin De Bruyne, but the fact that we're talking about it maybe being broken shows and testament to how well he's playing.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that all Thierry Henry's were all in open play, so whether that's, might ever be broken.
That would get an edge, I think.
It does get an edge, doesn't it? I mean, he was not bad, was he? His contract expires at the end of next season. Is there any way that United can actually afford to let him go?
No chance.
No.
No chance. I see Nicky Butt talking about it, I think it was yesterday, where he was just like, you've got to give him whatever he wants. And I agree with it, because, listen, he's obviously got opportunities to go, I'm sure, multiple places. I know there was talk about maybe him going out to Saudi, but I think when you're playing at the level that he's playing at, I'd like to see him stick around in Europe now. Whether that means that he's going to be at Man United or not is another question. But if you're in charge of that football club, you need to chuck everything you've got at trying to keep him there.
And in terms of, what you get judged on at the end of your career, it is, unfortunately, your legacy is the trophies, isn't it? It's all about the trophies. So, he's I think, won 2 so far at United. How do you think that he will be remembered? For more than just 2 trophies?
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the things that will come into the conversation about whether he stays or not. If he doesn't feel that Man United are progressing towards challenging for Premier Leagues, then I don't think that he sticks around. Whether that means that you'd be like a Real Madrid or Barcelona, because I think he literally can pick wherever he goes. Yeah, I think that's what he'd be looking for. I don't think the money is motivation. I think he's turned down moves to Saudi. I think his motivation will be, where can I go and challenge for big honours, because a player like that needs to have that in their repertoire or in their CV. Like you said, Vicky, at the end of his career, that's what